Okay, hello. Sorry for the delay on this chapter review. I was traveling. Yeah, I did read the chapter the first possible chance I got. I read it like Thursday night, actually, but just never haven't had the time to record any thoughts on it until right now. So I'm actually gonna, like I did last week. I feel like this is good format, so I don't miss anything. Is I'm going to scroll through the chapter and point out things as I go. Obviously, I cannot show the scrolling process because Shonen Jump is like notorious about like copyright stuff for their chapters. Nice color spread. It does not seem like it was drawn by Oda as promised. It seems more like it's just like a like a thing created by Toei, but I love it. It's very wallpaper worthy, potential wallpaper. Love it anyway. Again, no confrontation with who's who in the cover story, but it seems like Yamato's facing off to go look at someone. So perhaps maybe that's coming. I don't know. Okay, so I love this little like. So we start off like, is his name Gerd or no? Gerd's the girl, right? Who's this guy's name again? This giant. I don't know, but he says his father left the shield behind, which became a homie when he clashed with Big Mom. So whoever his daughter is, I don't think we know who that is. It means he fought Big Mom at some point. And what that means, I don't yet know. I can't really come up with any thoughts at the moment of what that means, but I think that's key. I think that's key. I wonder if it has something to do with actually. I think about this right now is when Big Mom was a kid, like subduing her during her rampages, or if it means like I feel like the implication is that like because it has to be after she ate Mother Caramel, right? So I feel like the implication is that like he fought her as an adult, but who knows? Who knows? Um, I'm always curious to know how much Luffy comprehends of like the world conflict and what's going on or not. Because he says world government night, so he clearly recognizes that as something he understands as a concept, which is interesting. I love I love like that you can really tell like I feel like this is something that a lot of like viewers don't typically or readers don't typically like understand for some reason, but Luffy is always able to see past any societal like I mean that's what makes him such a good captain, that what makes him such a good like catalyst for the found family of the series and such a good protagonist is that he's able to see past any stigmas that society places on someone or any gruff exterior that they might be pushing forward, and he sees their true nature at the bottom of it all, and he's always able to look past and see that. And he clearly sees that through Loki because Loki's screaming at him, and he's like, and Luffy's like, "Wow, you're better already." Just with a big smile on your face, chow down if you heal if you won't heal if you don't eat. Like biggest smile on his face. Loki reluctantly. It's like you can tell like he has a true sense for Loki's true nature. Um, and he's like caring for him, like it really it really shows you, and I really and he says that's what happens when you look up to a pirate in your youth. This is the big moment of the chapter, in my opinion. Look up to a pirate in your youth, and he's like, "You understand that feeling?" He's like, "Yeah, I do." Um, so he's like, "So Loki, we flash back. Loki was a kid, and he's talking to Rox D. Zebek, who was at Elbaf for some reason, and and this explains so much of Loki because I feel like there's definitely trying to do a parallel like with the whole Sun God thing of like you know like terms of like Loki and Luffy in terms of their like inspirations like I know that parallel already kind of exists with like Blackbeard kind of about probably trying to be the Rock's parallel, but I just find it like very interesting how they're saying this parallel with Loki really idolizing Rox. And he says, I didn't come all this way to take in a brat like you, which radiates with an implication that they came all the way to Valhalla for a very specific reason. A lot of people have been theorizing this has something to do with Harold's fruit, which Loki now has. Who knows? We really don't have enough information yet. So we see we see Loki goes, then I challenge you to a fight. And Rock's like, what? Next panel, Loki is bleeding out, stabbed on the ground. And we hear Whitebeard go, you seriously pulled a blade on a kid? And he says, shut it, Newgate. So that's the kind of man that's the kind of man Rox is. We get a much clearer picture. And then we see, and then of course Loki was born in the wrong generation. But I feel like that's such a insanely like pivotal scene, because not only does it like give us more context for Rox's personality, also pulls out to see why like his crew fell apart, because you could see like dissent right away from Newgate / Whitebeard, and it gives a whole new context to Loki as a character, because it shows like this is the kind of person he's inspired by. Doesn't necessarily make him a bad person, because I think it does have a heart of gold under all the gruffness, but it just shows you like this is why he feels like he has to have a certain exterior and certain like perspective. And this kind of recontextualizes that scene in the last chapter as well, when he was talking to Harold. Like that could have happened pretty quickly after this, and he's trying to emulate Brox's kind of style and behavior, and he's not necessarily has those genuine feelings. He's just trying to emulate what he, a figure that he looks up to. So very interesting stuff, very interesting. So I'm kind of sad. A lot of people were saying like, oh, Robin's perfect character to save the children that are going to be enraptured in these flames, because she could just hold them in place with her hands, or yank them back with her hands, with her devil fruit. But no, she didn't. And Jinbei did his water spout, the classic water spout thing that they didn't want to. Which, is fine. I don't really care. I'm not like one of those nitpicky people. Like I remember Morch was like furious about this kind of, but like to me, it's not a big deal. Like as long as the story's good, it's good. It doesn't matter. Like nothing has to go specifically a certain way in order for it to work. I think if he gives us a good story, he gives us a good story. Fucking Gunko showing up on the ship. Interesting, because it's very new, and it reminds me a lot of Robin showing up on the ship during Alabasta. And of course, you see Colin with his eyes jut out. I love the contrast. It's like this, like, very Bleach-esque, manga-esque, like, drawing of Gunko, and then we see, like, this, like comic strip, like, Popeye-style drawing of Colin in the same panel, and I think that's hilarious. I don't know, it's just very funny to me. But interestingly enough, Gunko is arriving on the ship with Brooke being specifically placed on this ship as one of the Straw Hats that was selected for this like section of the division. So I think there could be a very interesting conversation to be had here, whether Gunko realizes that Brooke is the person she's been listening to. I know I might have speculated that she was listening to Uda, but I think it's pretty clear that she's listening to Brooke. And maybe she is a Soul King man or not. A lot of interesting theorization about Gunko's identity going around. Morge, I probably spearheaded the theory that she is a clone of Ginny, which I think is very possible. I don't ascribe to it being 100% canon, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if it was. I wouldn't, I think it would work very well. And it would give a reason logically in the narrative to why Kuma's sticking around, for more closure. But I wonder if they're gonna have an interaction here. I don't know. Of course, unfortunately, no chapter next week. But it's been banger chapter after banger chapter. So far, Elbaf is shaping up to be on the level of Egghead in terms of quality. Egghead is my favorite part of the series. I don't know if I've said that anywhere, but I think I've definitively decided it is. It's my favorite part of the series so far. It's usurped Annie Slobby taking that title. So yeah, I am very excited to see what's next. Sadly, no chapter this week, but the anime is back with incredible OP, beautiful, emotional OP. I might do a breakdown of the OP at some point in a separate video. I don't know if I'm going to do that necessarily yet or not. Just depends on how much time I have, because things have been very, very busy lately. But yeah, I might jump back into the anime. I probably will not be doing videos on the anime, but I just think it's, it seems like a good point to jump back in after this hiatus, and it's about to cover my favorite part of the entire story so far, so I think I'm going to jump back in here. But anyway, that about does it. So thanks for listening, and of course I'm gonna have uploads before then, but if you just listen to the One Piece chapter reaction, see you next for next chapter.